I am sitting with some good friends of mine, the Rose family. Heather and Ben have traveled all the way in from Oregon.
Yes, sir.
Oregon.
Yes.
It says it's cold. And we're going to talk a little bit about their story, but I thought it was really cool because their story talks about process addictions. Now, this book, Marriage After Addiction, is written for couples just like this who have had issues with process addiction, substance addiction. But, I often get asked, well, how does this help, someone that had a sexual addiction? Well, read the book and you'll understand. Ben, why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about who you are and then how you met your lovely wife and then where the train
left the tracks.
Yeah.
Well, Ben and Heather Rose, we're originally from Juneau, Alaska. Yes.
Wait, y'all grew up in Juneau?
We grew up in Juneau.
I lived in Ketchikan.
Oh.
I think we talked about this.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah, my sister-in-law's from Ketchikan.
I wasn't there like as long as you guys are, but I was in Ketchikan.
Yeah, so Heather was born and raised in Juneau, and I moved there when I was 7. My dad took a church in Juneau, and him and my mom still there pastoring to this day. And but now we're in Portland, Oregon, pastoring a church. And boy, the journey between 7 years old and where we're at today is pretty wild. I had a sexualized experience in second grade with my best friend. We were left home alone in a room, 2 curious young boys, and we just started acting out some of the things that we had been seeing on TV and movies and things like that. And
how old were you?
I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
And, through that experience, I really feel like that's where the enemy kind of got his hook, in me. And that's what it felt like. It felt like that was the moment where the door opened and, innocence was lost, so to speak, with two curious young boys who were curious about their bodies and things we were seeing on TV or things we were seeing in, magazines that were coming to mom, Victoria's Secrets and those kind of things coming to the house. And so we were curious about what was happening with our bodies. Come later to find out in counseling, that's a pretty normal thing. But, when there's a lack of sexual discipleship in the home, and I want to say, I honor my parents. My parents discipled me so well in God's word and righteousness and all of the things, God's love for me. And they were incredible parents, but that was an area that we just had never had discipleship in that area up to that point. So I didn't know.
Why do you think that would be? Even them having the backing as pastoral, probably just intimidating.
Lack of tools.
Yeah.
They weren't sexually discipled. How do you?
Yeah. How do you lead others?
Yeah, and I think the church was in an age where there was a lot of subjects that were left alone that we didn't talk about. I like I said, I felt like the enemy got his hook in me at that point, and I just felt like over sexualized.
So yeah, I mean, it was almost like I question you in regards to
discipleship, right?
That, but how does that happen? Because I can relate to you. Mm-hmm. My parents control what they thought they knew about.
Yeah.
But what they don't know about, would that scare them? And what kind of control, or how would they parent that? What would be the response? Yeah. So, do you remember what the response was? Did your parents find out right away?
No.
Oh, it was years and years and years.
Oh yeah. No, I again felt like just over-sexualized. And I remember in 4th grade, we didn't have porn in the pockets like kids do these days, in a cell phone. These portals that just is wild. It's like a loaded gun that we give our kids. But we didn't have that. And so we had to, find, magazines. We had to find people that had HBO, people, and so, but I remember being in 4th grade, just being on the search for these sexualized images. And my friend and I actually broke into a house of a neighbor that we knew was on vacation because we knew he had Playboy magazines. And so stealing a Playboy, breaking and entering at 4th grade, and putting it in a Ziploc bag, hiding it in the woods. And so just like growing up, and the crazy thing was, well, not the crazy thing, but like I loved the Lord, man. I always have had a soft heart, a pastoral heart really for Jesus, and knew I had a call of God in my life, and have always loved people, have always, almost kind of known that ministry was in my future. So I grew up just kind of like in this like duplistic lifestyle, and then felt duplistic, and then the shame that comes along with that. Because like, again, I felt like I had a book and I was in a library and I was like, I don't know where to file this book. Like, I don't know where to file what I'm going through, because I've never really heard anybody talk about it. And well-meaning children's pastors and well-meaning youth pastors would say funky things about.
Yeah. Because they're going to define it like, ooh.
Yeah. And it's like, they would make, allusions to it, but we never really got into like the nitty gritty of some of these subjects. And so I'm just growing up going, I love the Lord, but I have there's this darkness, there's this hiddenness, and I'm taking it to my grave. I remember one time I tried to tell somebody, and it was a friend of mine in youth, and I was like, hey, this happens, and and I'm really drawn to this, and this is what happens with my body, and and I'm trying to explain what's going on, and he's like, gross, dude, that's disgusting. And I was like, okay, taking this one to the grave, not telling anybody ever, after that kind of reaction.
Can I relate with you for a minute?
Yes.
I want you to not feel like you're the only one in the room by yourself.
Oh, I know I'm not.
That same thing happened to me. It was and I've said this before on the podcast, so listeners may have already heard it, but I remember being that maybe 8 years old, and the girl that was supposed to be helping the babysitter because she was older, like watch us. I had my first sexual experience at that age, and it maybe wasn't the actual God-given way for a man and woman to have sex. I am trying my best to describe this in its most PG-13 ways possible. We didn't have intercourse, but we did everything else. Yeah. I did everything else to her. She did everything else to me. That's how I was taught.
Yeah.
And then years after that, I would remember climbing on top of the roof at the high school, because when guys were about to get caught, they would chunk them up on. We had these flat, walkway coverings, and I remember magazines being up there, and they were in my dad had them, So it's different for me that my addiction took me to a different place because of that trauma.
Yeah.
To where I wanted to fit in, because I knew that. What did you call the word you used a minute ago? Was a very good word, duplistic.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was going to be a duplistic person at the time. That was me becoming a duplistic person. How about that? Like this 8-year-old to 12-year-old is starting to split.
Yeah.
And
it's very incongruent, right?
Yeah. This Eric that everybody's going to know isn't going to be the one that is the true Eric, because I need to figure out who this is. Yeah. But who this is wasn't ready to be even talked to yet. Let's just drink. Let's do drugs. Let's just live life. We're not talking about college. We're not talking about parents. We're not talking about any of that. Yeah. So that's where I can feel that when you said that. I'm like,
yeah.
So,
and a lot of times with, what we find is, the average age of exposure is like 8-9 years old.
To sex.
To sex for our kids, like, and pornography, for these kind of unwanted sexual experiences. And we always say, like, as kids aren't going and looking for them. The enemy is looking for it. The enemy is looking for them. So I really believe that was the plan of the enemy, was to, come at me in this vulnerable state. Like, I wasn't looking for it. It was looking for me.
Do you think that age that you just mentioned is lower now because of like telephones and iPads or anything?
I think so.
Could be.
I think so. I think, and when I tell my story, it's so common for people to come up to me and say, we have the exact same story. 8 years old with another little boy, 8 years old with another little girl. Curiosity. And again, finding out in counseling years later that, like, that is a normal, that curiosity over the body, the changing body, the feelings, that is super normal if processed, with a parent in an environment, where ruthless truth telling is the norm. That's a really normal thing. So even hearing that was like almost like a layer of shame coming off, because, in secrecy and in hiding, that's where shame and condemnation and all that stuff kind of comes in. And for me, I didn't go to another substance. Like, I smoked pot one time in my life. The guys on a basketball trip, got me to do that. So just a real rebellious, drug life that I had. No.
Calm down, Esco.
Calm down. Yeah. Alcohol was never really had an appeal to me. But I think I masked with religion. I think I masked with people pleasing, and I think that's where fear of man came in, because I was trying to, because I felt so incongruent, with the Ben that I knew in the darkness, with the Ben who was the pastor's kid, who had this call of God on his life, who, was the musician. And so I was constantly trying to manage image, whether that's exaggerating up or exaggerating down to kind of chameleon, to kind of control. Yeah, because I think it's control, because you feel so out of control in an area. It's like, here's what I can control. I can control people's perception of me, and so I think that's what led me down such a just a dark place, really.
Yeah.
And it just, lust is never satisfied. Lust doesn't push back from the table and say, I'm full. Like, lust always demands more. Mm-hmm. And so this thing that I'm, you start making vows like, once I find a wife, this will be over with.
Do you have a plan on telling your wife?
No. I think I gave, when we were dating, you tell that one.
Yeah, when we were dating, he told me a story of something that he had done in Australia. And I came from a religious background as well, of, sexuality and sex in general. It was just don't. No.
Until you get married.
Until you get married, right.
And then it's a gift, and it's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But, so I just, being a firstborn, was like, done. No. So I won't think about it. I won't consider it. I won't. And so then we were dating, and he told me just kind of a story of a way that he had.
I'd gone in Australia, walking downtown Australia as like 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and, lady from the strip club, probably topless, comes out and goes, come on in. And I'm just like, okay. And I went in. And
that was probably your first
acting out.
Whereas pornography is kind of like acting in. Hidden and secret by yourself, and then there's the acting out.
Therapeutically, they'll call it acting in and acting out. That was like my first acting out.
Acting out is when you see it and go to it.
Yes.
Acting in is when you see it.
That's hidden in the darkness. It's the pornography. It's the
by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he told me about this experience when we were dating, and he was like really shook up about it. He was crying, and I was like, "Oh man, that's horrible. I'm so sorry," because I knew that's not who he was, and so this sin, this moment had just grabbed him. And he did something he regretted.
It's just like the dude in Proverbs 5, 6, 7. The guy says, I watch out my window and I see like the moron going by the prostitute's house, and it's like, that was me. That was me, because everything was unchecked and it was all secret and it was hidden, so it had the power over me. I didn't have power over it.
So anyway, we're dating. He tells me the story and he says, I don't ever want to talk about this again, okay? And I was like,
Control.
Okay, we will never talk about this again. And I forgive you, and I'm so sorry for your experience, and we never talked about it again.
Yeah, and so that's...
Until now.
Yeah, and so I'd acted out in Australia, and then...
You were about 20.
Yeah, and again, Eric, I thought that marriage was just going to fix everything. Mm-hmm. Because we were just going to be... We're just going to be swinging from the chandeliers, it was just going to be sex all the time, and I was just going to fix everything, and so we get married, and 3 months in, I find myself sneaking off to the office to look at pornography in the middle of the night.
Wow. Okay.
And so again, I don't have control over it; it has control over me.
And I say, oh wow, like it's not surprising because I used to sneak off and leave the kids and everybody at home and go get drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very similar.
Yeah, it is.
It's addiction. Yeah.
And so, you know, and then she got pregnant 7 months into marriage with our first. And so I just said that, you know, there's no way in hell, man, that I'm going to have a son, you know, and be the dad. Like, so this stops, but there's no plan in place. There's no letting the light in. It's just like, I'm going to manage this. I'm going to control this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop. And, you know, my first son, Ashton, is born, and nothing changes. You know, maybe momentarily. Maybe I have some momentarily emotions, but nothing changes. And then Taylor, a couple years, Taylor comes along, my next son. And I'm just like, so I'm making these flimsy milestones, you know, which is really, I'm sure you see this all the time in addiction. It's like, we try to make you know, by such and such a time, or this is the last time, next time this happens, I'll tell somebody next, you know, it's like these alarm bell statements that,
it's a form of, like, what do we call it? Symbolic self-completion.
Yeah, symbolic self-completion.
Yeah, then I'll stop.
And it kind of satiates your mind.
Yep.
It's like, well, I don't really have to do anything because I just, you know, it's myself. Like, I'm going to write a book, guys. Hey, guys, I'm going to write a book. And it's like, yeah, I'm an author. But you'd never actually sit down and write the book. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a satiation of the mind that happens. And that was my life, bro. Like, I was like.
And I still don't know because, again, I'm so. My sexual brokenness was I was so disconnected from sexuality and just embracing the good, because I also was not sexually discipled. So it was no, don't. We crossed boundaries before we were married. Mm-hmm. We didn't have sex, but we did a lot, basically everything else before we got married. And so I had a lot of shame then around, because I said, no, I won't, I don't. And then we sort of did. So then we get married and it's supposed to be all good and great and let's go for it. And that was a struggle because there was still shame attached to all of that. And so he's struggling with this addiction, and I am 100% clueless because I'm so disconnected from the reality of sexuality and just what's kind of going on in our sexual intimacy.
She said she always felt some, you know, even we've always been like best friends. We have a lot of similar interests. We do a lot of things together. So even in our disconnection, there was a lot of times where we were still close. We still really loved each other. We're still really good friends, really compatible. Yeah. But she said she always felt something, some sort of, you know,
like a missing piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, we always say secrets separate. So there was secrets. And so what she was feeling was the residue of secrets, you know, and it, you know, some couples you see and it's like the Great Wall of China between them. There's just like, there's a barrier between y'all. I felt like with us, it was saran wrap. But that's still, when you're trying to be close, you know, it's awkward. It's like something is keeping us from true intimacy, like spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, sexual, financial intimacy, recreational intimacy. Like something is keeping us from like fully connecting here. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of moving along in the story, I'm just like, okay, now we're pregnant with a daughter. There's no way I'm bringing a little girl into this world and having her dad sneaking off and looking at pornography and having emotional affairs with, you know, I was starting to have what I would consider emotional affairs with people, you know, getting attached, you know, nothing physical, but my heart, my emotions were. Because
there's some fantasy struggles attached with pornography, right?
Yeah, where you play a part or something like that again.
Totally. And so and I feel like the incongruency is growing. And you know that, you know, anger is a false sense of control, right? Mm-hmm. So the angry person is somebody who a lot of times is out of control in some major areas of their life. And they're scared of something. And so they're going to use that to, like, this is something I can control. I can control people through anger. And so I think, you know, and anger always is anger towards self first, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was getting more and more frustrated with myself and angry at myself, and I did not like myself. And so then that gets, the insidious thing about sin and anger is that we take it out on the people that are closest to us, you know, because I got to put on a happy face because now I'm on staff at my dad's church. And so now I'm a pastor and I'm, you know, communicating the word and I'm
Seen by
worship.
everybody.
So I've got to be awesome for everybody else, and everyone else has to think that I walk on water. But I get home and the real me comes out, and I'm getting short with the kids. I'm irritable. I'm
lazy.
Okay, lazy.
She waited until we got here, and then she's like,
No, you knew that.
You've
lazy.
never told me that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
I was a hot mess, and so Macy comes along, my daughter, and nothing changes because nothing changes, and so I'm so feel so discontent, and so a dude from Oregon, a friend of mine just says, hey, if you're ever just needing a break, come down and we'll have a bunch of fun. So it was super. He was an evangelist. He had spoken for us. Just a really fun guy. Just a great guy. So I'm going to take you up on this offer. So I went down to Oregon, and we just spent a few days together. And he said, hey, you need to meet my pastor. And so I met this guy, and we stayed up really late talking around the fire. And at the end of the night, he was like, hey, why don't you move down to Portland and plant the second location of our church? And I was like, whoa, I thought I was going to live and die in Juneau. I thought my parents were going to ride off into the sunset, hand us the baton, and we were just going to, we loved it there, loved the people there, still do, still love it. And so we prayed about it, and I just was like, yeah, let's do it. So we moved to Portland.
Was this a family decision? You guys had the conversation. Heather's all on board.
Like he said, we were friends. So yeah, he said, hey, let's do this, and we prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and honestly, what I heard the Lord say was, I didn't hear him say, hey, Heather, go to Portland and plant a church. I heard him say, follow your husband. And
can I ask you a question real quick, Heather? Did you know about anything?
No.
Zero.
Okay, so there was the emotional affair that he talked about. I had a breakdown moment where I confronted him about that. And it took a few times, because what comes with addiction a lot of times is that manipulating, what do we call it? Not stonewalling, but gaslighting. Gaslighting. And so it took a while for me to confront this relationship that he was having, because he kept telling me I was crazy, I didn't know what you're talking about, whatever. And I finally was just losing my ever-loving mind. And he's like, okay, fine. Okay, I'll cut it off. And so there was that. So I did know that there was that part, and we had just had a baby. And so I was a little bit crazy. You just have a baby, you are a little bit postpartum. But so there was that, but we were still close, and he cared about me, he loved me. And so it was probably a year later, year and a half, our daughter was probably 1 when you went to Portland, and we were sensing a transition. There was a lot going on, like this undercurrent, and I don't believe all of it was due to the addiction. I do think the Lord was working on our behalf behind the scenes.
I think he was having us move. I think he was having us move to pull the rug out from under us, to be honest, because Juneau was such a safe place. It was a padded rim.
Yeah,
we were loved.
It was also your waiting room, he had you there before you. Do this big thing.
And we had just built a beautiful after-school program. We had just a lot of favor, and
both grandparents lived there. We had babysitters. We had
built-in babysitters.
We had a beautiful home that we had just finished building, custom.
And people need to know Juneau, Alaska, and Ketchikan, Alaska, are the prettiest places you can ever see. I mean,
we grew up in a postcard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is a rainforest, though.
Yeah. But it's.
Well, we moved to Portland, and it was like Palm Springs to us.
Really? Yeah.
It was so.
Portland, I thought it's like where they shot Twilight. There's a lot of rain.
That's Washington.
Okay.
That's way different.
Never been either one of them.
Oh,
we're gonna have you out. But so that's what one of the things that I hate about addiction and hearing it. And we've obviously talked about it a lot now, but it's because of my manipulation. And because, gaslighting, if you want to call it that, or just redirecting it to make her feel crazy, a lot of times the spouse of someone who's in addiction starts to question their own discernment. Because I'm sitting here spinning plates, trying to hide everything. I'm using up so much mental capacity, so much processing power to try to like look good in her eyes and everybody else's eyes, and and so the whole time the byproduct of that is she's questioning. She's like, man, I'm off. My discernment's off. And so she's starting to shut down, and she's not made to shut down.
And I'm hoping I can say this and it'd be okay. Is like,
yes, say it.
She's got two of you.
Yes.
She's got the duplistic version.
Yep.
And then the version that she's married to, and she doesn't know who's coming to the house every afternoon. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yep.
Am I in love with both of these people, or am I in love with this one? And this one is the one we got to get rid of.
And man, had I been able to
how lucky that you have two.
More of you to love.
More of me to love.
But I couldn't.
Which one was lazy, Heather? This one or
both of them.
She threw the curveball.
No, but I think I couldn't really fully articulate that, of course, at the time, because also deception is known as like a cloud. You're wrapped in smoke. That's what the word deceived means. And so in his deception, I'm also in your deception. So we're both like wrapped in smoke. So I can't figure out, he's irritated and frustrated with the way life is going, but I feel like it's my fault. And so I'm trying to, and I think that's where codependency starts too, right? So I'm trying to fix every one of his frustrations, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, the garage is a mess. Let me fix that for you. And you don't want to preach at youth, so I'll do it tonight. Even that's your job. And I just took care of all the kids, and now we're doing, all these things. And so he's spinning plates and I'm spinning the plates. And so we're just in this weird, unsustainable season of life. And that's where I think God did say, he's like, all right, you guys need to get up and out of this thing.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
So that was the unraveling happening.
Yes.
Juno.
Yeah. And
Juno.
Planting a church from scratch was going to fix it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was going to fix it.
Just like having an alcoholic. Just like having a kid was going to fix it. Just like and again, so there's another milestone. Yeah, addicts think the same way. I've talked to addicts before that they really pick up their drinking or whatever in high school, and then they're like, oh, as soon as I go to college, get out of college, it's done. Oh, when I meet that Heather,
yes,
it's done. It's the reason I'm saying that is it is so interesting to see the same characteristics.
Yes,
when it comes to this type of addiction.
Yeah.
To a substance addiction, process and substance, two different things.
Yes,
but very, very different in how they're handled. Mm-hmm. The one thing I did think about is that, and you guys are probably about to get to this part in the story, I'm sure, where maybe somebody came along and helped you walk through this or whatever, but nobody really goes after, and maybe I'm wrong in this, there may be a number we need to look up percentage-wise, or ChatGPT can tell us, but there's not a lot out there for, outside of counseling, there's not a lot of work to level the ground so that the spouse, the supportive spouse, and the husband can walk through sexual addiction together, whether it's on her side or his side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm pushing for the book at the end, but did you guys, were you provided any kind of resource besides a counselor when all this broke loose after you started your church and then she come to find out all the things?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was the 2 years of counseling for me is when the lights came on, and and then somebody helped walk us through, and hers. So I would go every other week, and she would come with me every other week, and so she felt very supported in that.
I did.
Yeah, for sure. The so I'll pick up on what led us there on. So I get to Portland. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm anonymous here. I think the fact that my dad had the big church, my dad was on TV and radio growing up.
In small town,
32,000 people. You go to Fred Meyer, you go to our grocery store, you hug 12 people. There was something in me that was like, you're not going to get away with it here. And I was really averse to pain, and I was really averse to being in trouble, which is really an interesting thing. And I feel like the Lord is, the last couple of years is actually, there's another layer that's kind of, is coming off there. But so we get to Portland, and the thought that hits me is like, I'm anonymous. This is 2.28 million people in Portland, and nobody knows me. And it's an incredibly sexualized city. You know, I think most strip clubs per capita. And so I start just spiraling out of control. And I'm going to massage parlor. You know, there was at that time in Portland, there was a website with just kind of all nefarious activity, adult activity. And so I'm texting people for massages, you know, and these things. And so I acted out. You know, it was so interesting because sometimes I would go, I'd be there for a second and it would hit me. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I would leave.
That was the other.
That was the other, you know, and thank God there was, you know, some Holy Spirit, you know, his presence still in me that I would go, oh man, what am I doing? Like, what the hell the actual hell am I doing here? And I would leave. But it was what the deceptive part would be like, dude, I just fled that. I just got out of there. like I'm Joseph or something, you know, fleeing Potiphar's wife. Like, what was I doing there in the first place?
To begin with, yeah.
And so I'm just, you know, and the gifts are without repentance. And so I was like, I think in the church, our team's starting to grow. We're having meetings in our home. I'm miserable, by the way. I'm miserable.
How far into the first step in Oregon to now is that? Is this a year going by?
13 years.
13 years and you're miserable.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Right then, you're like a month in.
I'm like months in.
Yeah.
So we took 7 months. We took 7 months to plant the church. So those 7 months, I was miserable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miserable. And I was mean. And you can say what you called me, what you thought about me.
He was an a-hole. He was a real jerk. Yep.
And I guess it
I
really.
like that he said, you can say the word.
Well, she didn't even say it. But she said she would be happy when I would leave the house.
Yeah. And here's my best friend, and he's just causing such angst, and he's irritable, and I don't know when he's going to explode next, and he's not helping me with the kids. In fact, his form of helping is actually worse than actually if you would just go, yeah, okay, you're going to go golf with your guys, friends, okay, great. You're going to go have dinner, okay, fine, just whatever, just bye. You know, I didn't say it to him like that because I couldn't be that strong because that would cause an eruption. So I had to play it quiet, low and slow, but
tell
it was
what
very
you thought.
not like you. I just thought it was the stress and pressure of planting a church because we needed it for income, right? So it was stressful. It was like, okay, we need this thing to work. And we knew God had called us there. It was growing. Things were succeeding, but the other man, like you said, is who I had at home. And
it seems like if I keep doing this, like this guy that you created is getting bigger than this guy.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's going to kick you out.
There's an old VeggieTales thing that kept coming to mind with like the little fib, and it was cute, and it was little, and then it turned into a monster. You know, it's been years since I've seen that show with my kids, but that's
I'm not sure everybody that's going to watch this listens to VeggieTales, but I know what you're talking about.
I need to go back and watch it.
I haven't in 15 years.
It's the fib.
But it's the little thing that, you know, that man, I thought I could.
Getting a kick in the back off of that.
I thought I could control it, but it was controlling me.
Yeah.
And so finally.
Take me to rock bottom. Like when did these two people start fighting?
Rock bottom was I had gone to pick up some friends from the airport that had moved down from Alaska with us, and on the way there I went to a massage parlor, and as I was walking in, I had a disassociated moment where I was quoting Proverbs to myself. I can still remember the Nikes I was wearing. I remember the coat I was wearing. I was disassociated from my body, and I was watching my steps, and I was quoting Proverbs in my head. I was going, "The steps of a fool lead to poverty," and I'm quoting like death. The scriptures, Proverbs 5 about the fool, and I was like, I couldn't stop myself. It was the chemicals had taken over, and I was just. I was serving this master, and so I left there. I went and picked them up. I remember the whole way on the way to the airport.
You left before going in?
I went to go see a woman for a massage, and left to the airport, and I think the whole way to the airport, I just screamed. And I'm out. I'm trying to make deals with God. Like, God, can we do a redo and pretend this didn't happen? Because it scared me, man. That one scared me. Because it was like, she was like, yo, you want to have sex? And I was like, no. But it was so evil, and it was so gross, and it was rock bottom. And I screamed all the way to the airport. I went to the airport. I actually tried to take a bathroom shower in the sink. I mean, I'm just going, I feel so filthy. I feel so disgusting. The day before, or the night of, I think I was at a small group gathering, and, the daughter of the people who owned the home walked into the room, and the Lord just gave me like a word of knowledge for her. So I'm still operating in the gifts, and still seeing success in different areas. And so this thought of I'm getting away with it, man. But that night I was like, I'm not getting away with this. This is eating my lunch, and it's only a matter of time. And then my buddy, who was head of the church, the network that I was planting with, we usually had a ton of fun and would go hang out. And he's like, hey, you want to hang out? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so he goes, hey, there's a documentary that Nancy Pelosi's daughter filmed with Ted Haggard. And he goes, let's watch this documentary. And I was like, okay, cool. So we watched this documentary.
I love a good documentary. About
Ted Haggard and what happened, with his life. And it was the fear of the Lord in me. Mm-hmm. Because, he was 10, 11 years old, and he played a woman character in a school play, and a hook got in him with same-sex attraction, and he never told anybody. And his church blew up. Obviously New Life was one of the largest churches in America, and it hit the news, that he was with a male prostitute doing drugs. He was America's pastor. And I watched that movie, and I was scared out of my mind. And the next day, we were actually at Indian food.
Can I ask you why you were scared?
I was scared because I was like, that's me.
And you're afraid that
that's me.
Somebody's gonna write a documentary about.
It's gonna. Well, Pastor Rose is my dad. Pastor Ben is me.
Excuse me. Pastor Ben, but that's your fear, though.
The fear
of people going to find out what you've been hiding.
Of going, this is the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, because
It's camera crews in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And
you saw where sin had taken Ted Haggard, this unconfessed sin,
and oh my gosh,
addiction.
And then the wisdom from my father starts hitting me. Sin will take you further than you wanted to go, cost you more than you were willing to pay, keep you longer than you wanted to stay. And I'm just like going, oh God. And I'm seriously, I'm praying prayers and I felt like it was weird. It was like during that season, I felt like when I would pray, I felt like it would just go, like my prayers would just. They weren't
We're not being
yeah, it was crazy. And so we're at a Indian food the next day, and the pastor just says out of the blue, and it was not the blue, it was the Holy Spirit. He says, if someone was to confess something, it's so much better than when they get caught or found out. And I literally got up from the table. And I went and I started dry heaving in the bathroom. And I was like...
Because you knew.
Because I knew.
You needed to confess.
I knew. And the only way I can describe it is I was in a greased funnel, and there was no way. There was only one way to go, and that was just disclosure. And I didn't know how to disclose, Eric, because that had never been modeled to me. Disclosure had never been modeled. And so we get back to the office. I start crying on the way back, and I sit down, and they call one of the elders in, and we're sitting there, and I gave an iceberg confession. I gave about 30% because I thought that if
you're still kind of
trying to control even in my disclosure, and I didn't know anything about a therapeutic disclosure at that time. I just knew that I had to get something out, and so I gave a partial disclosure change some dates and some times and some frequencies. Like that's any better. But in my mind it was. And they actually told me, they said, don't tell your wife, which is horrible advice. They said, don't tell, we'll work with you. She doesn't need to know. And then fast forward about 6 weeks, we're about to launch the church on a Sunday. It's Wednesday. And something in their spirit just was like, he's not telling us the full truth. And so that basically they came at me and they were like, in Jesus' name, tell us everything. And so I just blurted out and gave a full disclosure at that point, as much as I could think of in that moment. And it was at that time when I actually let the light in. And that was the moment that started the healing process. Mm-hmm. And so then they said, hey, you got to tell your wife. So here it is Wednesday. We plant the church. Our launch Sunday is that Sunday. And here it is Wednesday. I find sitters to watch the kids and then take Heather on a drive to a parking lot and just disclose everything that has been going on through our marriage. So
this was how many years of information you were letting go?
25.
25 years of information.
25 years of unwanted sexual behavior.
We'd been married 10 years at that point.
We were 10 years into our marriage at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And had a church that was kicking off in about 4 days.
Yeah.
Welcome to Oregon.
Yeah.
Heather, here's the biggest question. This was his rock bottom he's coming out of. How did you view it at first? And how was the information delivered?
Well, I knew something was serious because he'd gotten a sitter. It was my aunt, watched the kids. They were little kids at the time. And so he tells me, and so many things happened all at once, but I was so sad for my best friend who had been struggling by himself for so long with just the way the hook of the enemy had just yanked him around, because I knew in that moment the Holy Spirit told me, he just said, sin is not Ben and Ben is not sin. And so I knew with him telling the truth and letting the light in, I was like, that saran wrap and that puzzle piece that was missing, it all made sense. I was like, oh, this is what's been going on. This is the information I needed. This is why you were an a-hole. This is why my prayers of God help my husband, God help my husband, God help my husband. Here it is. Here's the help. And so, I was shocked. I was sad. I was grieved. I was mad. But I was also really, really relieved to know the truth.
And she looked at me and she just said, we're going to win.
Yeah.
That's what you said. And that's what the husband wants to. Now, you deserve to hear all the other things that you wanted to say.
Yeah.
But the ones that we wait on are those that say we're going to win. Because what that does for me is when you say that, I hear that starting all the way back to when you were 8 years old, and you lost that moment.
Yeah.
Your wife is going to help you win and beat that moment.
Yes.
And so that thing that had become this big to little Pastor Ben, has now grown, and you're kicking its a-hole all over the place.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because your wife came along and helped you.
Yeah.
That's the importance of marriage. And
it is. And I'm telling you, we're so big. So, our ministry is called Cross the Island, and it's about an island in Alaska. And it's this island, it's called Fortress of the Bears. It's Admiralty Island. Kutznuwa was the native name, but it means Fortress of the Bears. There's one brown bear, grizzly bear, for every square mile on this island. And it's the 7th largest island in North America. And the Lord instantly gave me a picture that I had been circumnavigating these things for 25 years, unwilling to square my shoulders up, unwilling to be honest, unwilling to let the Lord excavate everything out and let the light into every crack, corner, crevice of my heart and my insides, because the light is disinfecting. The truth will set you free. And
this is on a different level of truth besides you just having that one-on-one time with God, because a lot of people will take their truth and privacy. Lord, please forgive me for that.
Well, I had done that 7 million times.
25 years. That's what you've been doing.
We had Dusty Rose was the name of the carpet.
Color.
It was like this pink carpet, in our Assembly of God church. And I remember being at that altar on those stairs hundreds of times saying, Lord, take this from me. Lord, this is the last time.
Yeah.
Lord, forgive. And, but I had never done James chapter 5:16. I had never confessed my faults one to another, and let the light in. And so, everything negative in life grows in the darkness. And so, that's the destruction was taking over my life. And it wasn't until, I was fired 10 days later, by the way. So I confess. We do the launch service. We have a couple hundred people. It's awesome.
It was the weirdest, best day. It was really a great Sunday.
So you preached on that Sunday?
Kind of. They let me quasi-preach a little bit, and they didn't know how to handle it.
I was a shell. I was like, I just was there.
Yeah, this is my wife, Heather.
Confused. I was so confused. I was like, there's no way we're going forward with this. But here we are going forward with this. I just knew. I was like, we're not pastoring this church. And he's like, yes, we are. We're going to be fine. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, that's not
I have
happening.
Positivity in my top 5 in Strength Finders.
Yeah.
So,
My strategy.
Yeah. So I, so they said, everything was happy, and then all of a sudden they turned, and I think they got scared, like, oh crap, like what's, so they said, hey, you need to go see this counselor. So I went and saw a counselor, former pastor, and precious dude. And I met with him, and he was like, we need to pull him out of the spotlight for a year. He needs to not be on a stage with a light for a year.
That's good.
And it was the best thing ever. So they fired me, and they sequestered me from the church, sequestered the church from me. I obviously would not recommend that, but the Lord used that because I was so, I think, dependent on people, and fear of man and people pleasing was part of that addiction of everything wrapped in there. And so it really caused us to hunker down as a family. Yeah. And the Lord spoke to me. He said, because I'm a visionary, the Lord spoke to me. He just says, win the day. Just kind of the old Chip Kelly mantra from when he was at Oregon was win the day. And so it was all about winning the day. And the Lord gave a strategy, and I was going to be the best husband I could be that day. I was going to be the best father I could be that day, and I was going to provide for my family. So the Lord had me start a business.
That's good.
And we just put our head down, and we just ruthless truth telling. We stopped exaggerating. I mean, he just gave us like 9 different things that we looked back on that through counseling. And so it was like a new marriage. It was like a new family. What's crazy is I was going to hang out with the friends that I disclosed to, the pastors. After they had fired me, we were going to hang out and do dinner together. And then they called and they were like, you know what? We're really hurt too, bro. And because, with addiction, it's like you pull the pin on a hand grenade and it's eventually going to go off, and it's indiscriminate. Like, you can't control who the shrapnel hits, right? So my actions caused a lot of pain. And so they were like going, hey, you caused pain to us too, brother. And so like, we need a break from you. And I was like, I was so, like, I felt such rejection. And I looked over to Heather and I said, Heather, I feel like an ice pick to my chest right now. I was like, my friends, and she was standing at the window, and this gets me emotional because my son was 9, my oldest was 9 at the time. And she goes, hey, why don't you look outside, buddy? And I looked outside, and our house was kind of on a hill. And I kid you not, it was like an afternoon sunbreak in the winter. In the winter, we have what's called sunbreaks in Oregon. And the sun was like, it was like a spotlight from heaven on my 9-year-old. And he's got his baseball glove on, and he's throwing the ball up the hill and letting it roll back to him. He's playing pretend catch with somebody.
That's that lazy I'm talking about that he got delivered from. Yeah. Because he was so obsessed with his own self, right? That'll make you lazy when you're just sitting there.
And so she goes, there's your friend right there. And And to this day, since that, in the last 13 years, in our friend group, we're known as the family that adventures together. We're the Rose 5. We just added a daughter-in-law, so we're the Rose 6 now. My oldest just got married 3 weeks ago. But
you'll be a Papa Rose soon.
Yes, sir. But it changed the trajectory of family, of parenting, of our marriage. Just, all 6 pillars of intimacy, God just strengthened, and it's like we were a new family.
Yeah.
Because and just I'm telling you, ruthless truth telling, nothing hidden, nothing secret, nothing. 2 years of counseling, and then just constant, check-ins, and we were just living this life fully in the open, and now I'm the same person.
Yeah.
That incongruency comes together, and then in the mix there, we meet a couple, and they're like, "We're supposed to plant a church together," and I'm like, "I know, we're supposed to do it." So a few years later, we did plant a church, and it's been a completely redemptive 9 years ago.
That's awesome.
And
so where's the church at now?
It's in Portland.
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon, and our friend Jenny Donnelly started. She was doing women's events around the country. This was a few years into healing. She's like, "I think you're supposed to come with me and start sharing your story." I'm like, "Yeah, it makes total sense to
women,
large, groups of women." But I would tell my story of disclosure and of truth telling, of letting the light in, and women started sharing, that they had an abortion, sharing that they had been molested or abused by a sibling, or they had been the abuser. They had molested, and so it was just like this revival of disclosure and honesty, and so that people could actually allow to be healed. And then through that, women started introducing me to their husbands who's like, same story. And then men started coming out of the woodwork, and then pastors and leaders, because we were now the safe ones. We were the ones sharing our story. And they're pulling us aside and being like, "Dude, that we have the same story, like, help, what do we do?" So then we started just doing Zooms, and it's turned into a course now where we help couples that were
That's amazing.
Kind of in that same, whatever level of unwanted sexual behavior they're in, we kind of meet them there and walk them through a journey. So
I'm proud of you guys. I mean, I've listened to this, and I can see so much potential in what you're doing because it relates to so many people.
Yeah.
Me and the team here were talking about how we have to talk about sexual addiction in 2026 because it's, it's up there, and it's just so much like other addictions. I mean, you could be the guy that stopped at the liquor store on the way to the airport, but you just have to be the guy that stopped to get a massage.
Yeah.
Because you're feeling that thought process.
Yeah.
And there's a hint of drug in that thinking. Because when you're doing something wrong, it's like, just getting away with this is cool. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's the devil hijacks what is good. Sex is so it's so beautiful, and it's so powerful. I think C.S. Lewis said it's so powerful because it's made in the shop of the master. And it's so beautiful, and it's so good, and it's such a covenant, ceremony. In a marriage, it's so powerful, and so. When it's hijacked, and I really believe, and this is what I've been studying, is the chemicals are hijacked. The sexual process, and we don't talk about this a lot, but it begins with adrenaline, is the first chemical that's released, and in arousal, and then it goes all the way through orgasm and all the way to the afterglow, the aftermath, and there's a whole chemical process. The body. It's amazing, all the way from painkiller to relaxation to what just how God set this up, like what it even does for the brain, blood flow to the brain. There's healing, elements in that, and so what I feel like in addiction is the enemy uses that same chemical process, like you were saying, for the getting away with the on the edge, the dancing on the edge, because you're still feeling that same chemicals. Now, what's so
It's almost euphoric.
It's euphoric, and what happens is in that process, it's a demonic parody, of the real, and so. In the process, it's like that's why chemically, our kids and adults are addicted to screens. Mm-hmm. So that same chemical process that was designed mm-hmm. to bond us and connect us is bonding people to screens or to sexualized experiences and things like that.
For sure.
So it's just. Man, it's and so we're trying to expose that. We're trying to normalize the talk. I mean, we talk about sexually discipling our kids, and we've really tried to do that in our own family and have open, honest dialogue with our children.
Well,
nothing's off
limits. I don't know exactly how my platform can do that, other than saying. If people come to me and they want to reach out to you, is there a perfect way to reach out to you guys as a couple?
Yeah, they can go to crosstheisland.com.
Crosstheisland.com.
Yeah, and we have some courses coming up. We have a course for junior high and high school young men that they can do with their parents or their youth leader. And then we have a marriage course, again, where it's pre-recorded and we get on for group coaching. It's a 7-week process to kind of kickstart people into this life of disclosure, crossing the island, stop circumnavigating.
Yeah. We just rolled out, because Recovery Vow, we're contracted through XO, but we just rolled out, it's kind of like our education department called Recovery Vow Collective. So we're doing the same thing, workshops and one-on-one coaching and things like that. I'd really like for you guys to think about becoming a part of that, where you can coach these sexual addicted couples that have had that kind of issue. Yeah. And then we'll give you some tools and resources on using your stuff, using our stuff, and creating like a hybrid of how you're working with them, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. It's just a way to network.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we just want to help more people, man. We know so many couples are caught. It takes the average couple 6 years of hell to say something.
Before they're like, we need help.
Before they say help.
Yeah.
And I want to normalize the conversation and tell our testimony so many times that it allows people to go, dude, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what they need to hear.
I'm passionate about mom and dads being healthy so that their kids are healthy. Mm-hmm. And if we're raising children that are healthy with ruthless truth-telling, so they're letting the light in, because the truth shall set us free, and the truth is Jesus Christ, right? That is revival. That's where revival blows up in America. We've got these healthy families and these healthy children that grow into healthy adults, and they have healthy families, and then you just see this explosion of
You hear his story, Heather, and
he
he was 8 years old. Is that the age that you are thinking about where you're helping these kids?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Even earlier, I think if we can get to mom and dad and they go through their own journey of healing, and then they have confidence when they're then helping their kids. Their kids could be 2, 3. I mean, you can sexually
disciple. We can start sexually discipling our kids in gender, in monogamy, in all of these, just by little prompts that we speak to our kids, and there's ways that we can be normalizing this conversation. Like, I think a big one, Eric, is kids need to know their parents' testimonies at age-appropriate levels, and more, obviously as they get older, more of the story. But we know so many couples who have never told their kids a thing, and so their kids are growing up, and there might be
parents are perfect potentially.
And they're going, man, I don't want to let my parents down. I don't want to. So we want to teach parents to how to have a family meeting, how to have immunity zones where the truth can come out, and we can, our kids know the difference between letting the light into every area and holding a secret. Yeah. So,
makes me think about sometimes when I hear my pastor on stage, he tells a private or personal story. It's just a way to relate. And that's what I think you're saying there too. You just want your kids to relate on a whole nother level.
A whole nother level.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming by the Recovery Vow Podcast. This is a different kind of recovery. And you both are now in that kind of recovery. So I want to make sure you have a copy of this book. Now, this book, I told you a little bit about it.
Yes.
It's written as a workbook.
I ordered it. I have it.
Oh, you already have it?
Yes.
Well, I want to make sure that you just remember that this is really written for your spouse. It's for them to help understand you guys are now in this together.